Hey YouTube. I came across a very interesting author today called Jeremy Jifkins, and he just wrote this new book called The Empathic Civilization. Um, and interestingly enough, it kind of just sums up a lot of what I've been um, diving into lately as far as culture and planetary and emergent culture is concerned. Um, so I wanted to kind of share his basic points from what I got from his introduction and first chapter that's available online. I'm gonna post a link in this video so you can check that out. Um, so his basic idea is, contrary to our view of human history and human evolution, um, well, at least the contemporary view, human beings have been evolving very gradually and not perfectly, but evolving and growing nonetheless. Our ability to empathize with other people. Um, and that this is the central story to the human tale, the human evolution, up through biology and into sociology. Um, so rather than just power struggles for power, um, for comforts, etc., beneath all of that is a deeper impulse in human beings to reach out, to connect, to socialize, to relate, most importantly. And this all goes into empathy, to empathize with another person. Um, and Jifkins basically says, look, the more we go into the 21st century, the more it becomes obvious that our older interpretations of human nature and sociocultural evolution are one-sided. They haven't been able to, or they haven't focused on um, the more empathic drive in human beings. And the reason why that we haven't is because we are also very violent beings. We are struggling with another part of our nature, which is much more violent. It's much more survival based. But his argument is that isn't the central part. It's not like we're Jekyll and Hyde. Um, our innermost selves is capable of the most powerful, the most transformative compassion. Um, it is just a matter of learning to bring that out more and more when we can, to abandon these violent impulses, which are our exterior rather than our interior, which is actually very different than a Freudian perspective, and older psychological perspectives that say human beings by nature are violent and they must be cultured to drive and suppress that violence. Instead, it says human beings are social creatures that wish to empathize with others, but there are limitations to that. We're still learning how to do it. Um, so that is the axis of our evolution, so to speak, and this is his basic thesis. That's the first part. And interestingly enough, and please post a response video or a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Um, but the second part of his thesis, from what I gather, is that there's a certain mechanism for this evolution in human beings, this gradual story of learning to empathize in human history. Um, Now, older theories or more contemporary accepted theories in both biological and social evolution, such as in sociology and anthropology, say, well, the only real things we can study as far as development is concerned is the ability for human beings to harness the energy of their environment better, which has increased, and to harness, well, yeah, that's basically it. Harness the energy of their environment and that increases the population, that increases complexity, and as a byproduct, social complexity results. His view is, well, actually, it isn't just the ability um, for the ability to harness more energy. For instance, hunter-gatherer societies were not able to harness as much energy from their environment as domesticating animals or as agriculture. These things provided a lot more energy in the form of food, of transportation, so on and so forth. Um, So that's one dimension, but really an equally important dimension, which wouldn't which helps explain or complement the energy harnessing, is social technology. The ability for human beings to increase their ability to socialize with each other, for instance, in written language, and then more complicated written language, more complicated concepts, allowed for a more complex society to emerge. So it's actually sort of a, the left and right wing of sociocultural evolution has been um, energy usage and communication, socialization. It's not just about power, but socializing. And one of the key ingredients was always, and again, this is his thesis, in human evolution, it was always attempting new ways to integrate and empathize with more people than before. When when culture grew beyond the tribe, the tribal the tribal mentality um, couldn't encompass everybody, because now all of a sudden there are many different tribes. So they had to interpret new ways to generate a more universal culture, a more universal um, social sphere. So the history of human beings has actually been developing a more social sphere rather than just um, combating the other. The other, I guess you could say, is the other, the unknown, the different cultures. In early civilization, it was the different tribe, not civilization. In early humans, it was the different tribes. Then it was the different, city states. Then it was the different empires. Um, so really, it hasn't been about fighting other for power, but learning how to socialize with other, learning how to cooperate with other, and overcoming the other as something that's um, innately evil or innately dangerous. Um, so he sees human history as reaching out to other. Yes, sometimes through war, but learning to get past that war. It's almost as if the unknown is just this vast sea of um, mystery, and when we confront mystery, what we're confronting really is ourselves and our own fear of that other, and that is what we have to conquer. And he shows that throughout human history, although we've carried violence with us till today, we've actually gotten better at a more universal, a more egalitarian ability, and it's increased over time through civilization. That hasn't decreased. Sure, it's not perfect, and sure, we have a lot more to go, but it's gotten better, and there's greater and greater attempts at universality. So that's his central thesis. And then some other cool plugs that I thought I'd throw in. Um, he mentions different types of consciousness playing a role here. And I think he has a very interesting point that anybody who studies Wilbur or integral theory or any kind of big picture theory could take into account, and that is the combination of new social technology with energy harnessing technology um, helps define reality. It helps, it molds reality in a certain way. If you don't have a written language, um, your reality was probably much more tribal, atomistic. With written language came more theological um, consciousness, and he's using these terms, by the way. These are his words. With with the first industrial revolution and so on and so forth, where there was more complex social communication, more complex technology. We had a more rational consciousness, um, and with the modern world, we're beginning to have not only more pluralistic consciousness, but also a more egalitarian and empathetic consciousness, because the internet age is transcending nations and borders. Its reality that it molds for us is a planetary world. It's a world perspective where we can meet everybody from all over the planet. We can empathize, we can cooperate, we can collaborate with people in ways we haven't before. So our vision of reality um, is much more broad. But anyway, let me know what you think.